So I titled the sermon today, It's a Small World. Anybody ever been to Disneyland in LA area, Anaheim?
Years ago. Years ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time.
I think it was my first time. It was, I don't know, a long time ago too. But I just enjoyed that. It's a small world. And seen all the different nationalities that are out there, you know. And I talked earlier about how we are all related in one way or another, right? Some of us are close to related. But you know, I thought about it and I go, really, I have no blood relationship except for my wife in Alliance. My two daughters live in California. My brother lives in California. My nephew lives in Las Vegas. And most of them are in Hawaii. And well, my oldest brother lives in Grants Pass, Oregon. But the thing is that no matter where you go, if you love the Lord and you've been a Christian for a while, you will find out that this is a small world after all. How many of you get into a conversation with somebody, you start talking, and where you're from and all that stuff, you know, and you find out that that person knows somebody you know. How many of you have had the experience? Raise your hand. Up high.
Yeah.
You didn't get any experience like that? You did. You just don't want to raise your hand. So that's what I'm going to talk about today is the relationships that is in the family of God, and you'll be amazed and God will blow you away just because you're in the family of God. The Apostle Paul is writing to Timothy here, and he says, do not rebuke an older man harshly. Now, this is something that is really important that we pay attention to, because I know sometimes old people can be like, you know, forgetful, memory relapse, right? The older we get, the less capacity we have to. Nothing wrong with my memory, it's just a recall. Because later down the road, you know, you think about it today, oh yeah, that's what it was that I should have remembered. But he says here, so Gene, do not rebuke an older man harshly. In other words, don't be mean to an older person.
What they're mean to me, bro. What they're mean to me.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Turn the cheek. So exhort him as if he were your father. Treat younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters with absolute purity.
Even those two?
Purity.
Even those two?
Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, these should learn, first of all, to put their religion into practice. How? By caring for their own family. Now, when I see some families out there today, it's like, I don't know, it used to be, when I was growing up in the earlier years, family actually took care of family. I don't know, some of you older ones know that maybe putting someone in the nursing home was for people that didn't have family. Now I know my mom, when she was getting up there in the 90s, and she had to have care. And of course, my sister-in-law was working full-time at a bank as a branch manager, and she didn't have time to take care of my mom, and so there was really nobody else. And so we had a home, a lady that took care of elderly people in their home, but they would go and visit them quite often. But you know what's sad today is that when I go up to Highland Park, there's a lot of families over there, I mean people that have family living right in town, but they don't even go and visit their loved one. We're supposed to put into practice by caring for our own family. What does that mean? That doesn't mean go buy a whole bunch of goodies like sometimes adults do when they don't have time for the kids. They get guilty conscience and they go buy all kinds of things. But you know what? Those children don't want things, they want your love, they want your time, they want your attention. Amen? And so, repaying their parents and grandparents for this is pleasing to God. You want to please God? Then take care of each other, right? The widow who is really in need and left all alone puts her hope in God and continues night and day to pray and ask God for help. But the widow who lives for pleasure is dead even while she lives. Give the people these instructions so that no one may be open to blame anyone who does not provide. Now I want you to really pay attention to this. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has what? Denied the faith. And is worse than an unbeliever. Why would Paul say that it's worse than an unbeliever? I mean, I believe in God, and I love God, and all this, and I do a lot of things for God. But why is he saying it's worse than an unbeliever? Well, the believer should know God's heart and have the love of God's heart. Right? We sang that song, How Deep the Father's Love for Us. And if God loves us unconditionally, then we need to learn how to love others, especially in our own household, deeply. No widow may be put on the list of widows unless she is over 60. Well, you know, that's my age, right? So I should be able to put on the widowers list if I lose my wife. Is that what it says here? If there is a need for someone to be on the list to take care of, then they should be put on this list. But she has to be faithful to her husband. And is well known for her good deeds. So not only does she have the need, but she has to have the respect of others that are around her, such as bringing up children, showing hospitality, washing the feet of the Lord's people, helping those in trouble, and devoting herself to all kinds of good deeds. So I wanted to start off with this one. This lady, that's her tombstone on your left. Her name was Terry Harriet. And I just started ministering as a youth pastor over in Deering. And Gerald, the one down below, is her father. And he told me that his daughter went missing in Hawaii. Anyways, Terry was working at for exclusive limousine service, which was my cousin and her husband's business. He owned a limousine company, and Terry ended up singing for the weddings. It's a small world. I mean, I didn't know that relationship. I didn't even know Terry, but my cousin had a flower shop, and so they had this corner of the market, so to speak, and Terry sang for their weddings. This is one of my favorite encounters. So back in, it must have been, I was counting, about 13 years ago, our first Young Life camp. So we go up to Rapid City to meet with the Rapid City group Young Life, and then we take 2 buses on a 30-hour ride over to Seattle, and then we got to tour that wharf and everything, and got into this Japanese warship. And I'm Japanese, just in case some of you didn't know. But I go on the ship, and there's all these short Japanese soldiers, Navy men, you know. And I'm looking at them, and they're looking up at me, and they start going, bah, you know, speaking Japanese. I had to say, Nihonchi wakarimasen, which is, I don't speak Japanese. But then we got back on the bus, and we got up to Vancouver. Border crossings are really interesting. but we got, you don't wanna make fun or crack jokes over that border, by the way. So we go, and then we got to Horseshoe Bay, and then we got onto a ferry, took a 45-minute ferry ride further north, and then we drove a little more, and we got to Young Life's dock, and their ship, I think it was called Princess. And then we go and take a 3-hour cruise up the inlet. This is in the middle of nowhere. You can't drive up there with a car. The only way you can get up there is through a ship, a boat, sailboat, or a biplane. Out in the middle of nowhere. And the plane would land on this. This is like a inlet. I wouldn't call it a river. And you know what's interesting about this is, in the morning, the tide goes one way, and in the evening, the tide goes the other way. Really interesting. And it's like 300 feet deep right there. And they say there's whales. I've never seen one come up. But I also remember where our cabin was, and I look out on this island, and there's a nest, an eagle's nest. And I could go out there and watch this eagle up in that nest. It's just like beautiful, breathtaking, ferns and stuff. And being from Hawaii, you know, it's gotta really be something great to wow me. But this place actually wowed me. So you know how it is when you get to conversation with people, and there's this guy that he had a business, printing business, and he supported Young Life in Rapid City, a lot of money. And we started having this conversation, and he says that every year he takes the employees to North Shore Oahu, and just to reward them for their good work. Then he goes and he came back and he says, Russell, my mom and dad took you to Sunday school every Sunday. And I'm thinking, okay, I was young back then, 11 years younger. And I'm thinking, I don't remember that. No recollection of whatever happened. But later on, I found out that his mom and dad picked up my two brothers, these two Japanese boys, and took them to church every Sunday morning. And basically, that's how I started going to church, our families. And my brother, the parents went to Hawaii one day and visited my brother. It's like a reunion, from all these years. And can you imagine what they felt like when two brothers were in the ministry, serving the Lord? Just because they took two Japanese boys to church every Sunday morning. You see, it's a small world. In fact, the same camp, here I am sitting on the dock, waiting to go wakeboarding. Anybody know what wakeboarding is? Well, it's sort of like skiing on a snowboard. And for one thing, it's really hard to get up on that. You're in the water, and they're pulling you, and it's hard to get up. I did get up though, and the guy was supposed to send me a video of him videotaping the thing, but he never did. But this is one of our campers wakeboarding out there. And so we're sitting on this dock and have this conversation. You know how it is when you talk, you say, well, where are you from? And he says, well, I'm from Santa Cruz. And I says, well, I went to San Jose Bible College. He goes, really? My dad went to San Jose Bible College. What's your dad's name? Dave Rose. I knew Dave Rose. So two people that I didn't know have these stories that are connected somehow. It's a small world after all. And I can go on and on. Julie and I were talking, I don't know even how we got in that conversation. Do you remember?
I went to friend you on Facebook and I saw that you have mutual friend.
Okay, so if you ever go on Facebook, you find out, if you look at their friends, that you can find some other friend. And Monty went to San Jose Bible College, and we sang together in a choir. And come to find out that Julie knows him. Oh, it's a small world. I don't know, how many of you know Dan Smaha? You know Dan Smaha. My brother was shopping for a vehicle up in Oregon. And he's talking to the salesman, Dan. And again, you know, where are you from and all this? He goes, well, I'm from a small town in Nebraska. He goes, really? My brother lives in Alliance. He goes, really? Yeah. In fact, Dan actually sang at the Alliance Christian Church that I was pastor at. And there's that connection. Small world. Some of you might know Larry Davis. He passed away a couple of years ago. And so, you know how they post things on Facebook? Well, Sue, or they call her Gabriella, her husband, Rick, was my 8th grade teacher. And she saw that I was officiating the memorial service, and she texted me and said, that's my cousin. Oh, wow, it's a small world. And another one, okay, so Peggy, we called her Peggy. She went to Platte Valley Bible College, which is Summit Christian College now, but it used to be down in Scotts Bluff, down where I live, on, 16th Street and 4th, between 4th and 3rd. And anyways, she had this family that took her in when she was having some troubles. And that was actually my ex-wife's family. It's a small world. And I didn't even think, I think just another one came up, is like, so 1973, our band was chosen to march at the Portland Rose Festival. Did you ever go to the Portland Rose Festival?
No, but
I mean, it's like, these floats are just amazing, made out of roses, you know. Anyways, so we marched in this parade, and at the end, we, you know, us people from Hawaii, we had plumeria leis, and we just started taking them off and throwing them in the trash. They're nothing to us, right? And there's a band behind us that was just snapping those leis out, and so we started giving them to them. And then after that, you know, I was at college, and I was looking on the coffee table, and there was this brochure, what do you call that? Souvenir pamphlet. And there was my band in there, and my ex-wife's band. I said, you were there? And we never met, but it could have been a possibility that I had given her a lei. Small world. I have another one by, I'm not going to talk about, I couldn't find any pictures or anything of it, but.
That's me.
Huh?
That's me.
So do we have any connection?
Yeah.
But
He was youth pastor at Central.
I was Gene's youth pastor over at Central Church of Christ. And he ends up moving to Alliance of all places. And he started coming to church. Small world. Gail Deharsh, I used to go to Alliance Christian Church, and we're talking and everything. And she used to support her parents, or her family and her church, used to support this missionary family in Hawaii. And this family is they started most of the Church of Christ Christian churches in Hawaii. And my mom actually took care of Shirley Steele when she was in her old age. And Gail says, wow, you know, how is it that way back they supported that couple, and now it is coming back to minister to her and her family. Small world. children, obey your parents in the Lord because it is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with the promise that it may go well with you